Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another exciting Alpha X Pro replay cast, coming to you live on the day that these replays came out. So without further ado, spawning in the bottom position, he is SERRAL. And of course, versus a guy up here, you know him, you love him, he is BYUN. So these are obviously from the most recent Republic of Gamers tournament. These replays have literally come out, I want to say within the actual hour. I literally booted up my computer and there they were. So I realized I had to get my hands on these for the channel just to make sure that we got to see these again, because I actually did not get to see this tournament. Unfortunately, busy day, busy life, all of that good stuff. But I heard it was so good that we had to just bring it to you once again. And already it's looking pretty good, because BYUN's going to be playing it with lag, apparently, as SERRAL going for a very quick spawning pool, looking to get that early damage done while also getting that expand in just to make sure that he doesn't fall behind. BYUN is one of those players. He's very aggressive. He's really just able to get into your face very quickly and stay equal with you as a Zerg player, and that's why he is such a dangerous opponent to go up against. But this is no ordinary Zerg. This is the best foreigner in the world, or at least one of the top foreigners in the world, as he is, quite frankly, great versus Korean players. He's not really known to struggle, especially not in the ZVT matchup. And I mean, he's just like BYUN in a lot of different ways. He's all over the map a lot of the time. He's fighting in these different little locations. Once you move out, he's pretty much in your base, and he's pulling you back, giving himself a lot of room to go up to those later stages where BYUN can kind of struggle a little bit. So if we do get to that point, that's where it's going to be super interesting to see how BYUN can handle such an aggressive player here. And it now does look like he's just going to go for what works for him, a standard 2-1-1 to start this series up. And nothing gonna be too crazy. Remember, this is a best of 5 series, so there is a lot that can happen. And really the first game is kind of the feelers. I don't think these two have really battled it out before. In any conventional sense, they really haven't been on the premier stage against each other recently, so this is going to be very exciting as the first Marine's going to strive for safety. But this does kind of reveal to SERRAL that there might be some aggression coming his way as he counts the number of Marines with this attack. And now from there, he kind of just backs off a little bit. He doesn't want to lose too many of those Zerglings, which is fine. But I mean, behind this, he's got about maybe one more drone round before he needs to start really kind of powering up his army, getting that Zergling count nice and high, expanding his queen count, even going to go for the Roach Warren just to play it very safe. Roaches are great in the early game versus this strategy. But I mean, BYUN's kind of just staying the course. He probably does recognize that he's been found out. But even when BYUN has been found out, a lot of the time, he just can power on through with his micro, which is really where his gameplay just shines completely. And that's why the 2-on-1 is kind of one of his go-to. Just very easy for him to get in the groove early on. So he is just kind of waiting around the front. He's wanting to see that pickup with this one Overlord so that he can kind of jump in there with a couple of Lings, get a little bit of damage done, kind of just slow down BYUN's momentum. But BYUN is actually going to start hitting before the medevacs are actually complete. There you go. They just finish up behind this. And this is kind of the scary part. The first round is really the most important. As long as you kind of trade efficiently and don't lose too many of these Marines, your aggression can continue, and it's going to keep the pressure off you. But SERRAL in a fantastic position right now. He is going to lose a couple of roaches to the focus fire, but BYUN does need to back on out of there, and he will do so with 2 full medevacs, so he should be feeling pretty happy about that right now. Just getting one of those roaches and only losing about a Hellion for it. I think it's relatively going to even out here in just a couple of seconds. Now comes the part where it's a bit difficult to get into position here. BYUN does find a little spot, but the roaches are in the way of that. He's going to try a little bit of a counter drop as well up here. And, you know, SERRAL's in a good spot right now. He hasn't really taken too much damage, although there might not be enough roaches here for the defense. He's going to have to reinforce that location. I mean, BYUN just finding these little angles here and there to drop, but not really getting supreme amounts of damage. But this is kind of what I meant. He's trading out very efficiently. He's not really losing a ton of Marines, although they're going to start to lose their efficiency. He does need to back up with them. But now SERRAL can't really engage back into BYUN's face for a little bit of time, as he still has slow roaches, the lair only just finishing up a little bit ago. And BYUN's going up for that +1/+1 and a 3rd base, so he's really set up in a nice position here. And SERRAL really hasn't been able to get that counterattack going. Yeah, look at that, even a couple of siege tanks in production, so they are good to go. And now BYUN's kind of just wanting to limit some of this amazing creep spread. I gotta say, this is one of the marks of a great Zerg, is they just have vision everywhere very quickly. BYUN trying to dive on top of those Ravagers. He really wants to keep that count nice and low, just to make sure that he can trade out, but he will be forced back once again. The Roach is still decent right now. They're going to start to lose their utility later on, but right now they are exactly what SERRAL needs, and it looks like he's kind of just sticking with them for the time being, going up to a hive soon with that infestation pit. But, you know, things have equalized pretty well. Neither side really taking a huge advantage early on. And I think from here, BYUN's still going to try and be a little bit of a nuisance, but as time goes on, that's going to be harder and harder as SERRAL hitting that stride in economy. 73 workers, 8 more on the way. So, you know, at this point, he can just start pumping out the army and really deflecting these small-scale attacks out of BYUN. A little bit of a feint as a bigger chunk of the army going to be moving towards the bottom. And again, this is the problem. That creep spread is literally everywhere. So SERRAL right on top of this force. The Ravagers going to do what they can. BYUN getting some good focus fire though. He will have to watch out for those biles, so he's not going to be able to get too much further onto that creep. Like from here, we got that hive coming on in. More roaches, more lings. The banelings just starting to get up into a bigger number. BYUN would love to have hit before that number got too big. He loves sniping these small little banelings, but not going to happen today. Not really paying attention to that, so those tunneling claws will get into his base overall, but oh no, there's a missile turret. SERRAL has been caught. So good spidey sense there by BYUN, just going to make sure that he doesn't take too much damage with this. mean, from here, he has consolidated his army pretty well, so now he's going to be moving in. A nice tank positioning here on the high ground, so SERRAL will need to get a good wraparound to deal with that. Bandit's going to be going in first. They're going to take one nice shot. Breach splits are pretty good for BYUN right now, so he should be able to hold this position quite nicely. It's going to be that leapfrog forward, though, that's going to be the issue, as that's pretty solid ground here for SERRAL to move in on. So far, so good. A couple of roaches getting in the back. They just want to bait some of those siege tank shots before the main engagement begins. But here we go. Blinding Clouds going to surround the tanks. He does get out of there with 2-1, but there are just way too many Banelings here, and BYUN fully on the retreat. Going to sacrifice the Marauders to get as much damage done as possible. It's kind of funny to see because he has cleared this location so many times, and there is still creep absolutely everywhere up here. And not too much he can do about that, as the Queen's always in position to respread. And I mean, I'm kind of impressed because the thing is, at this stage, a lot of Terran players would have already thrown away their army. They would have kind of gone into this fight or turtle mode, and BYUN has not done so. He's kind of getting these small engagements. He's got a large majority of his army out on the map, just trying to make sure that he can trade out efficiently. And I mean, even here, SERRAL not really getting any good connections. He's going to have to back up. Just way too many siege tanks still left with this army. Now SERRAL does need to wait for +2 if he wants to make this engagement work a little bit better for him. He is fighting currently on 1-1. But BYUN not going to give him that time. He's going to dive right on top, get a couple of good pickoffs, and then back off, making sure not to move too far forward. But here we go. SERRAL set up for these little run-bys. Now, BYUN is in position, though. And again, he clears this place of creep. I feel like he's one of those carpet cleaners who just goes into the same dog-filled home every single time and is always cleaning up the shedded fur, but it always comes back within the next day or so. That's kind of how it feels like when BYUN is clearing up this creep. Here we go. Once again, SERRAL going to sack a lot of the Banes on the Marauders, actually. So he's not going to have a ton of these left for the fight. And there you go, 4 left. BYUN doesn't have enough to engage because a lot of his army is over here hanging out. But again, it comes to this location where SERRAL completely maxed out, but unable to really push forward. BYUN just keeps getting these relatively efficient trades, and his macro behind it is just enough to keep him in this game. I do think from here, SERRAL kind of has to pull the trigger soon if he wants to win this one. He can't really keep relying on BYUN to take a bad engagement here. It's just not going to happen. But we do have four more ghosts on the way, so BYUN starting to consolidate his army composition a little bit more, making it a little bit more efficient. And I mean, for the first time, we do see SERRAL going for the big attack. Will it be enough, as he is going to just retreat, actually, as his 6th base got sniped. Okay, wouldn't mind connections on the Lings, but there are still plenty of Banes behind this. Another kill up here, so, you know, kind of a very quiet game, all things considered. Neither side really taking that big engagement that's pushing them ahead. They're really just staying even in all regards here. I mean, yeah, I mean, at this point, you would expect a couple more attacks out of SERRAL. He's usually a lot more aggressive at this stage, but he just really hasn't been given the opportunity to be. with these big drops going down everywhere. Here we go, the first big engagement. 17 workers going down on the planetary fortress. The Banelings do get shredded right there. And SERRAL on the retreat. Both sides, 192 to supply. The Ultralist does fall. I mean, BYUN's still just in position. He never wants that top position to ever go down. Although SERRAL did get some really good damage here. Does he have any nukes? Okay, no nukes, just a ton of ghosts right now. Still got a couple of units hanging out up here, but I think at this point, just send the medevacs to the main army as the fungals start to land. So BYUN taking a not so great engagement right there, but he is going to retreat to the planetary fortress. And SERRAL once again does not want to overextend. He's going to go on the retreat once again, and yeah, he's going to try and attack another angle, but BYUN just spread so perfectly with his units, he can't do so. I'm loving that SERRAL isn't really really overextending too much here. He's making sure that once he's starting to lose the engagement, he is backing off. But he's going to have to make some sort of tech switch here soon. Otherwise, he's going to be in a bit of trouble here, as what he's got right now isn't really working for him. Good fungal growth going to take down a lot of those Marauders on the pickup, but again, just not really enough. I know I kind of sound like I'm harping on SERRAL, like saying, "Oh, he's not doing what he's supposed to. He's not going to win this one." But I mean, unfortunately, he's just not really taking the engagements that you need to versus a Terran player. Both players also building up quite a big bank here, as SERRAL just going to keep reinforcing with these links. BYUN not really taking a stellar engagement right there. He is going to waste a couple of those Banelings on the Marauders in the front. A Parasitic Bomb going to try and take down the medevacs. And that's going to be the key to this as well. There's just way too much healing energy with this army. You know, already 17, 18 minutes into the game, and we're still nowhere near to being finished here, although SERRAL going to get a good connection on this base, take that out, so BYUN's forward progress has been stopped once again. Gets cleaned up in the top, loses a couple of SCVs. And now what is he going to do? Is he going to try and retake that base, or is he going to go for the safer back expansion here? Good free spread by BYUN, but the Banelings are going to dive right on top of this. He is forced to retreat once again. Small bit of a Baneling surround here. Going to go straight for the juicy Marines, but not going to get the connections they need once again. SERRAL, his supply is a little bit lower than BYUN's right now, but that hasn't really been a big indicator recently, as it's been so back and forth. He is going to lose this base location once again, though, as most of BYUN's army is up here fighting the good fight. And the bug starting to get cracked a little bit in the top side. A couple of great snipes there as well, going to be going down. And I mean, SERRAL needs to reinforce this position. He needs to win it up here. The bottom, taking out the bottom position is great, but I mean, at what cost did it take for him, as he lost so much army? are going to be going down. More Lings, more Fungal, more Ultralisks. More of everything. I mean, now I'm kind of wondering how BYUN's going to win this one. Because he keeps expending his bank. He keeps he keeps trading out, but SERRAL just always one step ahead of him. Although looking at those banks, the income's starting to falter a little bit as the map starts to get mined out a bit. Yeah, SERRAL never ever really get these run-bys in earnest. To a SERRAL level, I might say. Now, we can take a look at the worker count a little bit here, but that's not completely important as there are plenty of mules. I think he has about, yeah, he's got about 6 orbitals getting their energy ready, so you can kind of afford to trade out some of those workers and just use mules to make up the difference. As another base goes down up here. Yeah, now we're getting to a stage. It's really hard to tell who's ahead here. You know, SERRAL finally getting those connections that he needs with the mineral lines. Even though the mules are going to help, they're not going to help you a ton if you lose all your workers. And he is starting to expand into these lower locations, taking away precious minerals from BYUN's army. Yeah, there we go. The run by starting to do the actual work that they need. As more SCVs falling, the army of BYUN a little bit trapped back here, so these Banelings gonna get on top of absolutely everything. We do have a small little run by down here, gonna take out that base, but BYUN is on the retreat in the top side. It's really just a ring around the rosy right now, as both armies just trading locations on the top and bottom of the map. Undermine's not even really helping that much, doing a little bit more harm than good. As the main army starts to consolidate, SERRAL starting to fall behind in supply. Looking at that production tab, starting to look a little bit weary for him. As he's only getting 12 workers and 1 additional base back here in the bottom. And actually, he's just going to tap out. BYUN takes game number 1 of this best of 5 series. Let's see how this continues in game number 2. So after a thrilling game number 1, we are going to be hopping into game number 2 here on Oxide. Spawning in the bottom position, he is a terror from Finland. It is SERRAL. And his opponent here in the top, he's hailing from South Korea, but he's loved all over the world. He is BYUN. And you know what? Just seeing that last game, showing how evenly matched these two players are, was absolutely incredible. Like I said before, I hadn't really thought about these two battling it out because it was always thought to be, you know, SERRAL and Maru, kind of the two that everybody was waiting for. They literally rigged BlizzCon to get them to fight against each other in the finals, and it absolutely did not work. So, you know, it's pretty interesting to see a Korean Terran going up so hard against SERRAL. You know, I always kind of thought that SERRAL was a little bit favored in the ZVT matchup just because He is super aggressive. He really doesn't allow you to get up to your perfect economy. And he's really just all in your face, which is, quite frankly, the best thing about him. But BYUN, you know, he's giving him a run for his money right now. So nothing too crazy. It does look like SERRAL did go for the more standard options here, just making sure that he stays safe, as well as just kind of being, you know, economically focused there with that first base coming on down. And BYUN, he likes to do this a lot. He does kind of skip that first Reaper, instead kind of just getting his tech up with the additional gas that he has. And what that allows him to do is it allows him to stay ahead technically. And that's what kind of gives him that power to be more aggressive, to keep those pushes going. Now we do see that he's taking the double gas very quickly here, I've got to say. That's going to allow him to throw down that starport pretty fast. But what's going to be coming up behind it is the big question here, as it's a very fast tech lab. Very interesting. He's going to be skipping the Hellions as well, so maybe with this a very quick siege tank push. He could also go for Banshees if he's so inclined. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be either Banshees or a Raven early on. Now, SERRAL's got to be wondering, what the heck is going on? Last time you tried a 2-1-1, so what kind of buildings you got hanging out in there? So far, he only sees the reactor, so he has no clue as to what's coming his way. And as for Banshees, it's a pretty good choice sometimes just because it can catch your opponent off guard. Obviously, if it is scouted, it's a little bit better to kind of just make one or two, try and get a couple of pickoffs, but not go too crazy on the production. Just because your opponent will kind of get that defense up relatively quickly if he knows what's up. And it looks like SERRAL right now is just kind of thinking maybe the same thing, maybe another 2-1-1 as he's going back into Roaches off the back of this. Now, I don't know about you, but Roaches are a lot like Marauders and Lings. They don't actually shoot up, so the Banshee is going to have full reign of the skies for just a little bit longer here. Two ships passing in the night, threading the needle pretty well behind this. And SERRAL, I gotta say, he's got pretty good vision right now. A couple of blind spots that he can't really take, but oh my goodness. Is BYUN actually gonna attack off the back of this? It looks like that's indeed the case. He's got the armory down, a couple of Hellions morphing up as well. First Banshee going to be coming in here, but it is scouted out for right now. Lair is about halfway complete, but this is actually pretty dicey as SERRAL kind of recognizes the fact that these Hellions are a little bit late, so he got the Baneling Nest, but that's not done yet. And the reinforcements are already across the map. SERRAL's supply block. Oh man, this is not looking good for him right now as the Hellbats do morph right on top of the third base. And all of those drones are under fire. Roasty, toasty Zerg right now. The third base might go down too, but it looks like BYUN has gotten the damage that he needs, and he might just get a couple of focus fires here and keep the pressure going. Keep in mind, he doesn't actually have to do this. He can back off right now if he so chooses. And, you know, he's not being 100% aggressive with this. The Queen's doing a really good job of kind of pushing this back, taking down that Hellbat count. So BYUN wants to save some of these units, so he's just going to go on home. Now behind this, we do got that Spire started up. did BYUN really kind of expend anything to get that up? It doesn't look like it. He's got that third base up. His +1 upgrades have started as well. And I mean, from here, he's looking to go up to that 3-base Terran, which is one of the scariest Terrans that you can go up against. That's kind of where his macro just absolutely hits the fan in the good way. I don't think that you can hit a fan in a good way, so don't try it at home. But yeah, I think he's in an okay spot getting that third base killed off. So now he's going to be equal in the base count, which is where you never want to be as the Zerg. Look at that. He's only up about 7 workers as well. Looks like SERRAL has cut his drone count, drone production for a long time here. Now with the medevacs joining up, this has a lot more staying power, but he does have quite far to go onto creep if he wants to make this work. He doesn't have combat shields either. I'm really going to be interested to see when he recognizes that, as his Marines actually will get one-shot by the Banes. I mean, he does see the Mutalisks. A small Ling run by as well, going to be going towards that third as the main attack is going to be moving in. Not too much gotten right there. Queen's a little bit out of position, and they're going to start to run out of energy as well, so they need to back up to the safety of the Banes. And there you go. He's realized that he's forgotten the combat shields. And then Muta's going to try and get some cheeky pickoffs in the back. You know, the problem is with that rock wall, you can't really get a good surround on this army. Although SERRAL going to try and dive on it once again. A couple of Banelings go down on the Hellbat. But here we go, a little bit too far on creep. He wants to fight in range of those siege tanks and doing a good job of it as those Banes taking some huge connections. First tank does go down, but there is still so much bio here, and we see that blue parade push just coming across the map, streaming like a fountain. And really, I think this is a little bit too much for SERRAL to deal with right now. As we start to fall, he taps out. BYUN, they're a lot quicker this game. He goes up to match point. So will SERRAL mount the comeback? Stick around for game number 3 to find out. So we go into game number 3 on match point, but he's got the power of Europe behind him. Raise your kappas in the chat. He is the Finnish phenom, SERRAL. And his opponent up here in the top, he is the South Korean terror. He is BYUN. So it looks like SERRAL's going to be going for a little bit of an earlier hatchery right there. He got it on 15 instead of the standard 17. Not the hugest of deals, but you know, I don't actually see a spawning pool or a hatchery just yet. There we go. Never mind. I'm kind of just doing the caster curse here to make sure he didn't go for a 3 hatch, because I think that would be the worst thing you can do against an aggressive Terran like BYUN. But no, it's pretty standard for both sides here. I do think BYUN might be skipping the Reaper once again. There you go. The problem with this is I don't think he's really been scouting with the SCV either, so he's not really sure of what SERRAL's build plan is. If SERRAL was going for some big aggressive roach push early on, you'd have no idea until it was on your doorstep, really. So that's something that you do have to look out for when you go for this kind of shebang. But, you know, so far so good. Nothing really too crazy. We're going to have to see how this goes for the next couple of minutes before we can really make that determination. But everything's right with the world. Don't worry. The sky has not fallen. Zerg has not been buffed or nerfed, and this guy is still playing after his military service. So everything's okay. You know, it's kind of funny because this is a big personality clash as well between these two guys. Because you see BYUN, he's kind of this really boisterous dude. He streams a lot. He's really active in the community. Very emotive in his games. And then you have SERRAL, who is kind of the opposite. He doesn't really show a ton of emotion while he plays. He stays calm, cool, and collected all the time, so you're never really sure what he's thinking. I seriously think that he should play poker in his next life, just because he would absolutely make a killing off his patented poker face. But I digress right now. I'm glad he's sticking with StarCraft 2. It's a bit less of a gamble for him with his recent successes. And you know what? Speaking of gambles, it does look like BYUN is going to be going for a big one. Straight up Hellbat timing. Nothing too crazy about it so far. We'll have to see if he does kind of stop at the 6 to 8 or if he wants to keep going with this. You know, it's kind of funny because a lot of the time I do see this kind of transition into that mech style just because it's a little bit easier to keep going. Just keep the Hellion production moving on and use your gas to throw down the additional factories. But BYUN's not a mech player. He just does not care for it. He is too high strung on his bio play in order to let that happen. But SERRAL has got full wind of what's coming his way, and he's already got the Baneling Nest down, getting those additional queens for the defense. I'd say about 5 queens and maybe about 15 to 20 lings should be enough to kind of push this back. But here we go. Queens are in position. They are going to try and hold the wall. Not a ton of transfuse energy right now, but that is going to be enough to push it back with the spine. So far, it doesn't look like too much is being lost. Small run by going to help out. But, yeah, so far so good. BYUN is pushed back for the time being, but he hasn't really lost too many units here. So he's ready for the next big attack soon. SERRAL's just been in the perfect positioning this entire time. He's got the Spore Crawlers on the way for the Banes. And, I mean, there is a kind of push that you can do off the back of this. You can get those Hellbats and just mesh with the Banshees. But will it be enough? As that Baneling count is starting to grow, we'll have to see as here he comes. That's a very aggressive lair, I must say. I'm just going to be rotating around, see what he can get done. Spore Crawler in position, going to force back the Banshee. He does have Cloak. Okay, I was wondering if he had forgotten that. It's really kind of cool to see BYUN giving so much respect to SERRAL in this game as well. You know, he hasn't really dived on top like you would see him do versus players like Creator, Stats. Maybe he'd probably even do it against Raynor if he got the option to. But yeah, he's just getting out of there every single time. He's not really trying to push any issue. And I hope that doesn't hurt him in the later stages of the game. Funnily enough, I actually have no idea what happens in these either, by the way. I did get to see this series, so I'm going into it just as blind as a bat. But you know what, SERRAL a little blindsided here. He does have a couple of units in position, but that's not enough to save his fourth. He gets a cancel on that. A couple of good Spore Crawlers there, but 5 workers already going down. I mean, this is just action-packed right now, even if it doesn't really seem like it. The good thing for BYUN is he does keep finding these small angles. He would like to get a couple more kills, but the Banshees do go down. There you go. Stim is done. A bunch of those Hellbats do soak up quite a bit of the Banelings there, but there's still enough in the back to kind of push this away once again. I mean, I do like BYUN is he's kind of transitioning here. He's got the Widow Mines in production. I don't know. Okay, no Drilling Claws, so they're going to be slow mines. But yeah, from here, he's going to kind of just keep his presence out on the map and try and clear up creep where he can, kind of slow SERRAL down if he can. This isn't really a killing blow in any stage. Good split there by SERRAL, going to save a good chunk of his units as the Mutila's starting to move across the map. They do get semi-spotted here by BYUN, and actually it does look like SERRAL's going to waste some time to try and see if he wants to take that, but he doesn't decide to do so. Tech Lab going to be going down. He's going to start door production pretty darn soon. But you know, this is already some pretty good damage here. We should be seeing that Mutaball just start to really explode here soon, as you do want to keep that number quite high in order to take those good fights. All right, good connection. All right, we have stabilized. Look how fast these guys just kind of build up. We're only 9 minutes into this game, and they are almost completely maxed out off the back of their tech, really just starting to explode, as we do have that hive going to be starting pretty soon. And BYUN, you know, he's still being a little bit aggressive. SERRAL going to be going for a little bit of a poke, it looks like, but there's just not really enough here to kind of push the issue. Especially not taking the mine connections. They are really the MVP of this game. Good split's going to be going down. We're going to have to pick up a couple of those units to get out of there, but he's not going to be escaping with those Mutasks in play. Good medevac snipes, and SERRAL really taking the better of that trade. At this point, you really want to be throwing your gas into something else. You don't want to be remaking the medevacs, because it does take a lot of fuel to get those doors moving. It's really kind of difficult to do so. But see, now we see the backstabbing nature of SERRAL, as he's always really just in this position to come back and hit you when your army is not where it's supposed to be. And I mean, 15 workers really speaks for itself right now. Even going to get some connections on the army. Has to be careful, though, not to lose too many of these Mutalisks. Already 4 have fallen. I mean, BYUN, now it looks like he wants to move out once again. Go. BYUN going to be moving in once again. Good crew splits. Going to make sure, going to minimize those Baneling connections. SERRAL kind of backing himself into a corner, waiting for the reinforcements to morph in. But he's just going to try and dive right on top of the middle line once again, get some baited shots on it. The Mutas do start to clean up, but they do have some big connections on that door. So they will start to fall. They need to go back and recharge. And I mean, SERRAL does have enough here to clean this up. But You know, the question is he going to actually take that engagement, or is he just going to go for a little bit of a wraparound, sacrifice his position, and go from there? He doesn't really need to take a fight. He just needs to keep BYUN back. Nice little move right there. Going to save those Widow Mines for another fight. And now we see BYUN. He's got a majority of his army kind of rotating around with a small smattering of units coming in. Actually going to catch the Baneling. So that run by is gone. But really, with so much of his army up at the top, what's he going to do about this engagement down here? That's a lot of Banelings, but is it enough, really? As they're not really able to push their way forward. Looks like not necessarily a base trade, but a very big trade of the bottom and top positions. Looks like BYUN has forced SERRAL to come on home as he reinforces with 70 lings. My goodness. But SERRAL just says, you know what, I've had enough of you. I'm going straight for your production. And really, I do love this move. It looks like he might be able to get the fourth base as well with the Banelings. And BYUN forced back at home, so his momentum has stopped. And 21 more workers going down. This is not looking good for our blue Korean Terran. Even getting picked off on the leave. I mean, from here, we might see it stagnate just a little bit. Oh, no. Losing those Meatless and the Overseer. That's actually a pretty big deal. More susceptible to Widow Mines now. SERRAL, though, is building up a pretty nice bank. He is maxed out almost. Just one more round needed for that. I mean, BYUN's still on the attack, which is okay. He's going to keep the Opus on SERRAL to defend, but I don't know. A couple of decent Baneling connections there. SERRAL not fighting with the majority of his units as he's got a big wraparound here, and this is the SERRAL we know and love. Hitting where you aren't. And hitting quite hard as well, I might say, as he's going to clean up a lot of these supply depots, keeping BYUN in the dark supply-wise. A couple of Banelings going to be coming forward, searching for those mines, but they are in the back. But, I mean, back at home, you know, BYUN doesn't really have a lot, and he's getting taken down by the Mutalisks. They're really starting to clean up these locations. And getting on top of the bases here. It looks like BYUN might be running out of steam a bit, as he hasn't really been able to reinforce his pushes like he would like. You know, that's kind of BYUN's thing. He loves to get that parade push across. He loves to kind of keep the extended push going, never losing his train of units. But that's how you beat him, essentially. Just stop the flow, take him off his beat, and you're going to get a quite sweet treat, a V. Or W, whichever one you decide to use. Now, he actually hasn't rebuilt the armory, so the Widow Mines are only going to get one shot before they're revealed. But again, he's on top of the production. BYUN's so heavily supply blocked that he can't, like, he couldn't even build a stick of gum if he wanted to right now. And yeah, he's going to get this base. It looks like SERRAL's just going to sacrifice it. 26 more Lings, 13 more Banelings, though. How much more can BYUN really do with this? There you go, losing even more of his economy. I don't think mules are this OP in order to get him back into this. Muta's just able to push him back a good chunk of his army. He could actually just attack right now and clean up house as the production is completely compromised. Yeah, I think BYUN, you know, he's going to go for a big push here soon. See what he can get done. But it's really looking like SERRAL's victory right now. Although that might change if he loses all of these Mutalisks to wayward shots. BYUN's still out on the map. He's still trying to make this work, but again, SERRAL just hasn't had his economy touched in a very long time. Sitting on that 71 workers, he's feeling quite content in where he is. Bit of a two-prong action right now as the first wave of Banelings jumps on top of the Marines. And there's not really that much bio left here as a good majority is up here, but now SERRAL can reinforce this location as well. BYUN falling to low 100 supply for the first time in a while, and that is going to be it. SERRAL makes a series out of it, and we will be continuing on to game number 4. What a series so far. I hope you guys are enjoying it. Stick around, more to come. So we go into this next one, knowing that it is a great series already. Spawning down here in the bottom position, he is BYUN. And his opponent up here in the top, he is SERRAL. And I mean, you got to believe that this has been amazing so far. No two game has really looked alike. And I mean, it's a longer series. It is best of 5. There's a lot more at stake than we usually see in smaller cups. I think it was 1,260 or so ESL Pro points on the line, which I mean, will go a long way towards getting you to IEM Katowice invite for next year. And I mean, that's where the big money is to be had. So it's really important to win these games straight up in the best manner possible. And I gotta say, SERRAL really found his stride last time. He was able to get those run bys that he's so well known for, and he was able to really just get on top of the economy of BYUN. Even though BYUN was in decent positions at times, he just wasn't able to recover fast enough for the SERRAL war machine to essentially break him down. And I mean, that's kind of been the way this series is going. It's death by 1,000 cuts. No one engagement is ever going to be enough to win it for either side. You're going to have to really wear down your opponent, be it taking an hour, 2 hours, maybe even 3 hours. It's just going to be a long one, and I can certainly feel that these two so equal matched. It looks like the factory is going to be going up, so a little bit more standard here. We've got, you know, we got a couple of those Marines coming down, and what he can really do with that faster reactor is pump out a couple of additional Marines, be a little bit more aggressive with the Hellions early on. Maybe go for another Hellbat push. I don't think that would be the best option 2 games in a row, but we'll have to see. I mean, this is BYUN. He's kind of the if it ain't broke, don't fix it mentality. He's got builds for every single map versus every single opponent. And, I mean, you know, there's a lot that he can do here. Now, SERRAL is not going to be slouching either. He's going for the safer third base location. The thing about Pillars of Gold is with that a little bit further back, it can be a little bit more difficult to push. The siege tank line doesn't really reach that far forward on it, so it's a lot safer from those kind of committed pushes that BYUN likes to do later in the later stages. And so, really, good options to start things off. You really got to get that. It's just small things, essentially. Small things early on lead to bigger payouts the further down the line you're going, and that's true in life, and that's true in StarCraft too. So these guys are pretty much playing the game of life, although I really hope not the board game version, because I always get into fights once that one starts up at the home front. That's why holidays are better alone sometimes. Anyway, we do have that armory going down. A little bit dark there. Sorry about that. Have a good holidays, guys. But the armory does go down, and he does have quite a few Marines to go with this. I don't know if SERRAL saw that coming across, but he definitely saw the Hellions being pushed up. And now it comes to the situation is, will he have enough to defend? Looks like he's going to throw down the Baneling Nest here, or an Evo Chamber. There you go. And what that's going to allow him to do as this push gets started is he wants to stay equal on upgrades. He wants to stay equal on tech. And also, he just wants to block up the top of the wall, letting that Spine Crawler finish on up. And already, this is looking pretty good for him here. The Spore Crawler does finish, and even though this one Evo Chamber will go down, it buys time for the Baneling Nest to be built up. We've got a small little run by here, getting 3 workers in the back. I mean, BYUN not really getting too much damage done with it so far. SERRAL just going to dive on top of this with the Lings, and the Queen's going to help clean it up. There you really have it. BYUN going to back off once again, giving a lot of respect to what SERRAL is cooking. Now, BYUN already going to be switching things up a little bit, going to add on the Raven. And that can add a lot of utility with this. Overall, what you can do is you can kind of send that Raven in the back, get a little bit of a harassment going down while the Hellbats push the front. But as the medevac energy starts to run out, you have to be a little bit more careful with where you position. And SERRAL is just going to use this opportunity to kind of push that creep very far forward in an attempt to make sure that BYUN will have a long road ahead of him to try and get any damage done. Like 2 ships passing in the middle of the day. But all right, we got the third base going down. Stim is about a quarter of the way complete. We got the Hellions remorphed back into their Speedy Boy self. And they're just going to be kind of hopping around, looking for any kind of small bits of damage that they can do. Overall, things have stabilized quite nicely here. Not bad. Not bad at all. And take a look at the units lost here. We're just slightly ahead. Thing is, SERRAL's right there to respread the creep and keep these Hellions at bay. So really good just kind of positioning there as you know, as the Terran player, you never really want to be too far off from your next harassment. It's very important that you always have something going on somewhere on the map to kind of keep your opponent back, hopefully getting those drone kills as well. We do see that he's going to be moving out with the Marines a little bit to secure that third base, but I mean, he needs to get a little bit more committed damage here, I feel. Alright, now he can use that Raven if he wants to, but he's just going to blow a scan to get that done. Another auto turret dropping. There is a spine in position. And really, this isn't meant to kill SERRAL. He's still trying to get that committed damage done, like I was saying. I do think he does need to be careful here. He can't really afford to take a bad trade with these units until his production ramps up a little bit more. And there you go. He's not even producing out of a couple of those racks. I mean, not a huge deal. He did get supply block for just a second there, so it kind of woke him up a bit. But you really do need to be on point at this stage if you're going to win. Because the Zerg on that 74 workers, he can add on more. Going to be going up to Hydralisk this game, so already a nice change of pace. Trying to get the pickup there, but no dice. And so just going to get a little bit of information as well off the back of this. I mean, the question is, does BYUN know about the Hydras just yet? We'll have to see, because he is going for Widow Mines. I think you do need siege tanks to efficiently deal with them, especially once you start getting up to that hive and add on those additional lurkers. It becomes very important to get some sort of AoE, a little bit of splash in order to deal with it. But we'll have to see, you know. So kind of just pushing the edges of the creep right now. Not going to be too aggressive as he gets that hive up. Random Raven, just chilling out. He's become a pacifist for the time being. Now SERRAL is going to catch this force. Some huge connections going off as well with those Widow Mines, leaving a couple of nice tasty banelings for BYUN to snipe. But he is just going to back off for right now. Clear up some of that creep. I don't think he really wants to push too far forward, overextend, so to speak. He doesn't really have too much else with this army, but I gotta say, those Baneling connections were beautiful. Here we go. He's gonna get a couple of good pickoffs right there. High ground is under fire, and the double-pronged hero is gonna go at it on both sides here. Will SERRAL really have enough to kind of hold these both locations? Not if he takes trades like that with the Widow Mines. I mean, BYUN is, you know, he's microing his heart out, but unfortunately he's just not really hitting both locations at the same time. I feel like that'd be a little bit more effective for him. But yeah, I digress. Here we go. Going to pick off a lot of these lings before getting out of there. Just got to be careful not to lose them to the Hydras. Oh no, that could have been very bad for him there. That's a lot of his army supply in those two medevacs. Looks like he's going to be sticking with the Widow Mines as well. Kind of just hoping to clean up the Hydras with the bio and just using the Widow Mines to clean the front. It's like a horror movie waiting for the monster to find you, but he has been found out on the top side. A couple of those Banelings getting sniped on the retreat. Auto turrets as well going to be helping out. I believe the auto turrets actually have a higher point of contact for the enemy units. But BYUN going to take another engagement down here. Again, this is like a big seesaw back and forth between the top and the bottom. And I think SERRAL just has way too much on both sides for BYUN to really make this effective. I feel like he just has to consolidate his army right now and go for the bigger pushes. A little bit of a Dorito cannon going to help out against the Hydras, but there is just way too much wraparound from those Lings. He's going to have to pick up and get out of there. And I mean, on the other side, he does have a pretty scary army to contend with. But this time he has done a decent job of kind of keeping the creep back. As he gets cleaned up in the top and those medevacs going down, he's going to push his luck in the front. And I mean, the Banelings coming in, getting some okay connections, not really getting the big ones before getting taken down. That is enough for BYUN to retreat as he falters in supply, down over 30. And I mean, really from here, it's kind of SERRAL's game. He can start to build up that bank quite efficiently. He doesn't really need to expend too much. And I mean, his remax is just going to be insane every single fight he takes. SERRAL is always in a really good location to kind of stave off these drops. He's got the Vipers as well for the Parasitic Bomb. Just barely saving that medevac with 7 HP. I mean, now it's kind of SERRAL's turn to be on the warpath a little bit. He can't keep his whole army in the attack just because BYUN is still very aggressively pushed far forward. But I mean, it's kind of enough here. Now that he has the lurkers, he can kind of just utilize those, use a bit more of his army to be aggressive. Yeah, you're never going to break through that location with transfuses either. Completely maxed out, slowly inching his way forward. The Widowmine's going to get a couple of connections, but they're not really going to get too much. I think SERRAL might have overextended his lurkers just a little bit, but the Ling surround is going to be enough to push him back, to push BYUN back. And now it's really the remax that BYUN has to be worried about. The Planetary Fortress just won't be able to really stand the test of time. And SERRAL, still with an amazing bank, is going to be able to completely push his way forward. So far, so good for our Finnish Zerg. But, you know, BYUN has come back from worse positions before. He's not really super far behind, as he still has quite a few mining bases up, even going to be taking the one in the top as he defends. It's just against a player like SERRAL, that's really a tall order. Good eye on SERRAL as well. Now, keep in mind, those are fully upgraded. Those lurkers, they only just don't have +3 attack. That's it. And good positioning here with the blinding clouds as well. It's going to force BYUN back once again. I just don't know how he's really going to make too much more headway in this. Like that, maybe. There you go. That's how you do it. So small engagement going to be down here, but the Lurker's dropping right on top of the bio. That will have to retreat. This base is not going to be too long for these world if this Banelings do decide to just crash on in. And now BYUN is going to start feeling the sting. After losing this base, he doesn't really have a huge income. Taking a look at that. It's still in his favor for now, but that will start to fall as it starts to kick in. I keep thinking those are BYUN's units. They are not. They are imposters. Sending a small hit squad forward. They are not going to be long for this world as they get the surround as well. Winnemai's going to get some decent connections here, but this is pretty much most of BYUN's army, and SERRAL is just going to dive right on top of it. All right. BYUN's going to be trying to hold on to this location, but again, it's a bit of a fool's errand, as he won't really be able to do so. 28 more links on the production tab. They're going to be going for one of the last mining bases of BYUN as he is dipping in supply lower and lower with each engagement. SERRAL just really not even breaking a sweat in this game. And I think slowly but surely he's going to just whittle down BYUN's defense. They're just going to really need some monstrous Widowmine connections in order to make this work. But with the Lurkers, with the Banes, I don't think it's going to help out too much as he's about to dip below 100 supply. And with that supply difference here, he might clean this up. But the reinforced is just a little bit too strong for him. GG is called, and SERRAL makes this a tie series on match point. We are going to a game number 5. So make sure you get your cheers ready as this is going to be an epic finale. You know what? These guys have already made this feel as epic as a grand final. So let's hope that they keep that intensity and that action going in game number 5. Spawning down here in the bottom position, he is SERRAL. And his opponent up here in the top, he is BYUN. So we've really seen kind of a similar style out of both of them every single time. And by that, what I mean is both sides have been going for this very double-pronged kind of attack. SERRAL's been doing it a little bit more reactionary. He has been kind of deflecting the double prong of BYUN a little bit more, but at the same time, he's just been going for these backstabs. And really, it's just very fascinating to see kind of a mirror between these two in how they're doing things. Which means that they're going to put every single thing on the line. I don't even know if they're going to be caring about the next couple of games or the next couple of series. They may be thinking, wow, I need to beat this guy. If I can beat this guy, I'm going to win the whole tournament. And that's kind of how you have to think about it with a really tough opponent. You just got to think that the next couple of games are going to be super easy for you, and get that preparation in. But now it's anyone's game. So right now, BYUN going to be once again skipping that Reaper. He's been kind of favoring that style, which has allowed him to go further up the tech tree a little bit quicker, just getting that faster reactor a little bit quicker on the factory. And I mean, it can work. We have seen him really hit some crisp timing with the Hellbats, with the 2-1-1, but at the same time, SERRAL's just got a perfect vision all over the place that has kind of keyed him in to what's been going on. Can kind of see he's pulled a couple of the workers off in order to get a little bit more, but I mean, we're not seeing anything too crazy, just standard play. So once again, it's just going to be that 1-1-1. I don't see a tech lab going down, so that tells me it's not going to be anything crazy like another Raven or Banshees even, excuse me there. You know what, it's going to be even crazier. Look at that, the Fusion Core comes on down, so it's going to be Battle Cruisers. Lovely, lovely, lovely way to finish out this series with just the kitchen sink thrown at SERRAL. Okay, that could have been the scariest thing in the world for BYUN if that had gone through, but I mean, right now SERRAL's got to be feeling pretty okay. He's got that early Baneling nest down, so he's going to feel pretty safe. He's got full vision of those Hellions. He knows that they're not really morphing, but yeah, he does want to kind of get in here and get a little bit more information as to what's going on, even if he doesn't really have that speed. But he's not overreacting in any stretch of the imagination. Did he see it? He saw something building, but he doesn't know what. He probably can assume it's a tech lab, but what's going to be coming out of that? Is it going to be a Banshee, Medevac? You just need a couple of spores, and it looks like the lair's coming down, so that's going to keep him safe against the invisible Banshee that's not going to be anywhere near him. Yeah, that's kind of why you don't want to be too overzealous taking that very fast third. Excuse me, very far forward third, not very fast. Just because while it will allow him to get that creep spread pretty darn forward here pretty quickly, it's really a little bit tricky to defend against the Hellions. But you know what's even trickier to defend against? When the Queens are out of position and the Battle Cruiser is operational. Now keep in mind there's no Yamato cannon, there's no really follow-up to this. It's just the one and done Battle Cruiser. But he's really kind of just hoping to force that overreaction out of SERRAL, and he is expending a lot of mining time here. BYUN not diving in. I feel like he could, but he doesn't feel the drone count is really worth it in doing so. And you know, SERRAL is actually getting a little bit of an overreaction here. You see how he's been moving the drones even when they're not under fire, so a little bit of panic, which is weird to see from SERRAL. Alright, so BYUN just going to be dancing around here. He does have the teleport, so he's not really too worried about losing this. Another scan going down, and I like that positioning there from SERRAL. Just keeping that Evo chamber wall is really nice to prevent the Hellions, which are trying to find those connections. And I mean, from here, BYUN, he's got his third base up. Stim is complete. He's getting that armory, so he'll be able to hop up to +2 attack pretty soon. SERRAL still only on 0-0. Actually cancels one of the Evo chambers as well, so that's going to slow down his upgrades. And I mean, yeah, BYUN's just looking really good right now. And this is kind of what I was talking about in earlier games. You really do need to keep that aggression up, a little bit more pressure. It doesn't need to be completely committed, but it also does need to kind of keep those trades and force your opponent to make army units rather than go up to that very scary drone count. And here we go. He can even add on the Hellbats right now if he wants to, and just make this a much more concerted push, as the battlecruisers are going to be going into the main base trying to get a little bit of work done off the side. Now the ideal situation would be to soak up the Banelings with the Hellbats and let the Marines go ham. But we can see a small run by as well. The battlecruiser getting deflected. And SERRAL's just going to go for the full surround here. BYUN getting some good connections there, just trying to make sure that he takes out some of those Banelings, but he does get cleaned up. A lot of those Marines happen to be picked up and retreated as the Mutalisks. 8 workers in the back, so my goodness. SERRAL once again hitting his stride. Just got to be careful not to lose too many mutas. Things have kind of stabilized right now. SERRAL feels safe enough to go up to a little bit of a higher drone count. And yeah, BYUN gonna keep trying to move out here. The creep gives SERRAL a very nice warning as to what's coming, and the Muta's actually gonna start picking off some of the reinforcements, it looks like. Now SERRAL does need to be careful here because this is a pretty big minefield. Off the back, he has to be careful where he decides to engage. And it actually looks like the Widowmine's doing a little bit more harm than good, taking out quite a few of BYUN's own units, forcing him on the retreat once again. Kind of like how this battlecruiser is still kind of hanging around. Only 7 kills, but still a lot of potential in it, as there's not really that many Corruptors and Mutalisks. They don't do too well here. Good micro, going to save a lot of those mutas though. Only 1 going down. That was absolutely fantastic. And SERRAL does force that back, allowing his muta ball to get a little bit bigger. You know, one thing that's really cool to see from BYUN as well is BYUN's one of those players who a lot of the time actually does kind of sacrifice that late game for the early to mid game strategies. You know, a lot of the time he won't really get that transition in as effectively as, you know, one would like, and that really kind of causes him to struggle in the late game sometimes. But I do like how he's kind of playing it a little bit slower here against SERRAL. He's not really getting those overextensions that you see. He's not pushing too far forward. He's not really taking those bad engagements. And it's kind of nice to see him kind of adjust his style for SERRAL. Also playing it very defensively, which I do enjoy seeing it, because it means he's going to last a lot longer here, but the Baneling's going to try and make that a pipe dream. Not the best connections for him. He does take out a little chunk of the bio. Still kind of looking for that damage anywhere you can find. That was a very risky jump right there, but the Muta's not in position. They do take a Widowmine shot, so they're a little bit bruised, but they can just heal on up behind it. I mean, this is still pretty good. Getting he does need to finish off some of those drones to make it worth it, however. As the Mutas do need to come home and finish this off. It'd be kind of funny if he actually got a teleport in time. So wall up is complete. BYUN going to be able to clean this up pretty darn nicely as SERRAL going to jump and dive in on the front. Those Banelings moving their way forward, but they get taken out by the Widowmine, so there is still quite a bit of bio remaining. Look at that, a couple of Lings hanging on out. And now we see SERRAL in this kind of position where he's not transitioning. He's sticking with the Ling Bane Muta, no Ultralisks, just +3. I would like to kind of see a couple of Vipers as well, but they really, I don't think they would do the best for him just because there's no siege tanks here. So never mind. I don't want to see the Vipers. But I mean, from here, that was kind of funny. How long those Lings lasted. You know, BYUN, he needs to start pushing this creep back a little bit further. He needs to start taking out the Queens as well in order to make this work. He's about to lose his 5th, but I don't think he should retreat here. He really can't afford to give SERRAL any more room. Again, the Baneling is getting some okay, but not the best connections as the 5th does fall. Doesn't really have enough in the front, so he is going to retreat off the creep, and now the Baneling's actually all gone. And now we see that scary parade push of blue coming across as the reinforcements want to hit before the next swell of Banelings comes in. But I don't think SERRAL is going to be giving him the time to do so as he dives right on top of this army. And the Swarm, once again, cleaning things up. SERRAL taking a huge supply lead. Yeah, that's a huge mule drop. Shame if something were to happen to it. Unfortunately, nothing is going to happen to it. Now, this is a lot like the previous games where BYUN is a little bit behind in terms of that supply, but I don't really think it's kind of the same where SERRAL's still kind of pushing him in, as SERRAL has backed off pretty hard here, giving BYUN a lot of room to recover. I mean, he's just in position everywhere here. The Thor going to be shooing away the Mutalisks, getting 1 kill there. And, you know, there's not really an option for SERRAL to get any run-by damage now. As the planetary fortresses are done, he's going to have to rely on the Banelings to clean that up. How many upgrades does he have on these Mutas? Just +2, all right. And from here, we finally see that kind of transition into Ultralisks, just to get a little bit tankier of an army to help deal with the Marauders in the front. Here we go, once again. It's just every single fight is so even. BYUN can't push forward. SERRAL can't push in. And although he's cleaning it up, it's just not always in the best way here. Although the Marines going the wrong way, so they will be taken out by the Banes. But once again, SERRAL has to go on the retreat. No, excuse me, there's scan going down. Muta's taking a little bit of a wrong turn at Albuquerque, as he does lose his 6th base. And that Muta Ball really nowhere, nothing special. So he's gonna kind of just rely on this ground army now, not really looking to replenish it. Gonna be hopping in once again, but yeah, not able to push too far forward. We got more Lings on the way, a couple of additional Mutalisks being pushed in. And now if he loses these Ultras, that's really the point where you gotta be worried, because that's gonna take a lot of bank, which, by the way, neither of these players have. They've just been consistently replenishing their armies, so they've never been able to kind of build up to that stable income where you can just start just banking up your minerals, really. Now BYUN going to be careful here. The Widowmine getting a decent connection again. The Mutalisks going to clean up this very expensive orbital, I might say. Just because that's not really where you want to see one. A small drop down here. Not going to get too many drones because there's no real drones to be had. But I mean, there's just action literally everywhere as BYUN slowly pushing forward in this location. Now he is able to clean up a lot of the army, but SERRAL going to dive on it once again. It looks like BYUN's entire army is down here. It's on move command. So inopportune mistake right there is going to cost him quite a bit of supply. It's still relatively equal, but he's losing SCVs by the dozens now. And yes, I know that number is smaller by a dozen. But yeah, if he wins this, it's going to be off the back of some really nasty Widowmine shots. As you can see, that's really the only thing keeping SERRAL back, as he just continuously gets these pickoffs on the CCs, not able to finish up. I mean, the Ultras are completely upgraded now. He's losing the Widowmines in the back, but again, it's just not really a point where either side can push. He's really just relying on these Mutalisks to do the heavy hitting for him. Fighting happening on multiple screens here. BYUN having to retreat once again. That's a lot of mules that haven't been mining, so they're not going to be as effective. Okay, so what do you do from here as the Terran player? Obviously, you need to keep the aggression up. You really can't afford to give the Zerg player room, but that does mean that if the Zerg player can kind of just hold on there, he will be able to win in that situation where he's just going to whittle you down. Not a lot of gas for SERRAL either, so that's going to keep the Baneling count relatively low. And, I mean, BYUN can kind of afford to start... Oh my god, never mind. Take a look at that. We're going to bring that up. That's almost a 2,000 mineral difference here, as BYUN going to be getting a kill on that base down there. 6 more workers going down. Another kill up here, which is going to divide the bases of SERRAL. But, I mean, SERRAL doesn't even really care. He's going for a big counterattack to try and clean up this drop. neither player really letting up here. These are kind of low-tech armies. Just because you got those Banelings, Mutas, and it's just pure bio Widowmine. Don't see any real tier 3 units left. But I mean, BYUN still finding some really good angles. I think from here, SERRAL really needs to start expanding down to the bottom of the map and kind of just pick a location. It's a wonderful pickup there once again. The Widowmine's not going to be able to go up. There's no Marines with this, so those Mutas have free range of the sky, and I think SERRAL's going to break this location. Yeah, at this point, I'd say just dive on there with some of those Banelings, because you did just take down another full medevac. This is not looking good as the map really just starts to get mined out here for BYUN. He's got like 2 mining bases. Now, to his credit, he has taken down a lot of the mining of SERRAL, but, you know, he's forced back. Oh man, I really don't know here because BYUN, like, he's still got a very scary army. I'm not saying that he is actually up in that army supply, but SERRAL has just been way too good at kind of getting that remax in. His one problem is, again, that gas income, and he does have the expensive gas geyser to help out with that. But now he does get a full surround on the army of BYUN. Good Baneling connections right there. Going to clean up almost everything, but there is enough in the back to kind of finish off the Banelings. And now these Ultras are completely naked, and they will have to retreat. It's just so even. I can't even say either side won that fight. That is how that's just how it goes. It did let BYUN push a little bit further forward. But here we go. Once again, SERRAL is where the army is not, and he opens up this location to those Mutalisks by taking down those missile turrets again. Now this is where it starts to look up. Just from the fact that he's really been continuously denying these lower locations. So I think SERRAL's only on 3 mining bases total right now. Let's see, yeah, he's remaking that one. This one's about to be mined out. That one's getting pretty darn close as well. And then you got this more fresh one up in the top, so he does need to start taking these locations. We might see a mined out game if this continues on. All the bases on the map are already taken. I mean, yeah, at this point, I think BYUN might struggle to remax here as he's down over 30 supply. The army, once again, not in position, but he does get some good pickoffs on all of those Mutalisks, so they will fall. The SCP's going to get crushed below it, though. And BYUN has to sacrifice this location. "34 workers. That's it. He's really running on mule juice right now. And again, it's the one thing that's helping him win these fights is a huge Widowmine connections, although a bunch of them do get stuck behind the Lings there. And I mean, if BYUN can fight in these small concerted choke points, he's going to take much better trades. I just don't know. SERRAL starting to run on ROG, but so is BYUN. every unit is going to start counting from this point forward, because everything you lose is going to be very hard to replace, especially those very big, expensive Ultralisks. And there you go, a big run by, going to help out, but he's going to lose this base once again. BYUN's going to lose one of his own. Jesus. There's just action absolutely everywhere, and I gotta say, this does feel like a game number 7 TVZ, most definitely. I would love to see this at the global finals or something similar to this, but I can't wait. You know, I'm already looking forward to their next matchup, whenever that is, wherever it is. If they can make games this epic and go for this long, then it's going to be an amazing future and an amazing rivalry almost between these two, I hope. All right, so I just got to say, look at this army graph. Just the dips, the drops, it is beautiful. Someone can post that to Reddit. Reddit data is beautiful. Look at that. He's even using the egg to kind of prevent that from going down. It's the small things now. A lot of big moves are still happening, but, you know, this is the point where they can kind of just start freestyling a little bit more. Now we do see, I like this, the addition of the Liberators. It's going to force the Colossus switch here. But he does need to be careful for those Infestors off the back of this, just because if you take a couple of Fungals, you're not going to be able to replenish that army. Oh my gosh, if he saw this. Technically you can see it a little bit. There is a little shimmer on the ground as that Infestor moves, but BYUN, he's not really seeing that. He sees that really small dot right there. Finally gets the scan off, picks off 2 lovely Infestors. Is going to be doing a little bit of work as well as BYUN trying to rotate around, keeping this army on the bottom side busy. 7 kills on that Liberator. That is amazing. But the Fungal is going to clean up a lot of those Marauders in the back. There's still so much bio. It doesn't even matter, though, as SERRAL retreating to the creep once again. Oh, man. How do they do it? They make it look so easy at this point. I don't think any of us can really say we would do the same. Like at some point, I think at least one of us would have gone on a pee break or something. Just wait to see what happens in this game. But you know, there's still a lot of gas in these geysers, I gotta say. So. Really might want to retake that, as the other side really has a huge gas bank. And the reason I say that, even though SERRAL has over 1,000, he's not really replenishing it that well. Plus, I mean, he's got very expensive gas units here. Liberator's still kind of hanging out. BYUN trying to bait SERRAL into fighting in this location, into his pre-split Widowmine field. But, you know, no dice. SERRAL being very patient now that he's taken the upper Rich Gazer. I mean, he's still going to lose this base in exchange for that. Where is BYUN really mining? He's only got about 2 mineral fields left. So he's going to have to start expanding forward. But again, there's just no minerals left anywhere. These are pretty much... I feel like at some point they're just going to send all their units to mine those. Because that's about all you can do at this point. And yeah, that's pretty much one of the last mineral fields in the world. This whole planet has been sucked dry of its natural resources. So I don't even know why they're going to be fighting over it here anymore. Like at this point, I feel like there should be an option where if all the minerals dry up, both sides should just be able to say, you know what, I don't want this planet anymore, you can have it. And then they can fight over who actually wants the other one to have it more. But here we go, big Muta transition in the back. Going to get a few more SCVs, force BYUN a little bit out of position with a ton of his Marines. And I mean, this is about where I expected it to go. I would like to see him just throw down a couple of additional ghost armories and maybe go for nukes. Kind of a Hail Mary play, but you know what? What else are you going to do? But again, with all the minerals drying up here, it's up. I mean, it's neck and neck. Anything you lose, you're not going to be able to replenish. SERRAL's going to be a little bit better in that regard since he still has some gas. BYUN is going to have to rely on Marines, really. It's all about preservation. You got to preserve these mineral patches for as long as possible. And, oh, man. I still can't tell who's going to win this game. All right, there we go. BYUN does clean up this location. A good chunk of SERRAL's army is going to stay on back. Widowmine is going to get some decent connections as well. The Muta's not able to stop. Oh my god. The humanity right there. A ton of Mutas just fell. 7 kills on that one Widowmine alone. I mean, taking a look at this. 65,000 to 48K. Oh, it's making my head hurt thinking of numbers that large. So SERRAL has expended his bank to remake that Muta ball. I heard a Liberator siege up. But it's just over there. That's going to get cleaned up. The ghosts are pretty nice because those snipes will allow him to get those easy pickoffs here as long as he's pretty careful. But yeah, BYUN is being very cautious right now. I think SERRAL is really just running out of options, but nah, BYUN's giving him even more by staying so far back. You know, it's kind of the situation of if you let the Zerg player get his freedom, then he's going to use it quite liberally here. Mutas, I don't know if they really want to expend as much like that. Yeah, they're going to have to get on out of there. All right, some decent snipes going on down. They're pretty much fighting over this location. This is the linchpin of the game right here, as the rest of the map is gone to them. I feel like at some point, someone's going to have to dive. right on top of the other army and just take that one last big fight. But until that happens, BYUN getting some really decent connections there. The Mongols, though, he's going to lose pretty much all of these ghosts, and SERRAL is going to push his way forward. Unfortunately, he's fighting into a choke point with not that many Banelings left. The Marauders in the front going to soak up quite a bit of this. SERRAL, he finally makes his way through, but he's only got a couple of Ultras left. I can't even see how many Marines are still here. 24 Marines on the production tab, but SERRAL has finally broken this location. He has finally broken BYUN, but he doesn't even have enough to finish it off. And that's the sad thing, because he's just below BYUN in terms of supply right now. But BYUN will live to see another day because he's still got enough to produce. My goodness. I thought it was over. I really did. But it's not. So it's just long distance mining. It's not even worth building a hatchery. He doesn't have the minerals for it. And you know what? BYUN still has 2 mining bases. This one's about to go down. This one's running out as well, but I mean, if he can secure this location, that's GG. Almost certainly, because SERRAL can't remake any of these bases. If he does, he's just dead. Look at that income, and let's look at that drop. Solid downward spiral there. Now these winnow mines are about to become the MVPs once again, just because you can't afford to lose anything to them. And I'm going to say that over and over again because that's the absolute truth. Both these players just broke. They're skint broke. Nothing left in the tanks. Who has the last bit to push it out? I feel like the Ghost should just kind of chase down the mules. There's not really too much in the next to them in order to keep them safe, really. Yeah, there you go. Mules are dropped. That's just going to give that really big income boost here, and that's really all you can say right now. Still, you know, the fact that SERRAL still has this great creep spread all over the place, though, is really a testament to knowing where his priorities are. I mean, throughout it all, he's just made sure that he's on BYUN's doorstep at all times. But here we go. SERRAL already gearing up in position. He wants to push this location, and he wants to make it hurt. Is going to do what they can right now, but gas really isn't the issue that much. Some really huge connections right there as well. That muted ball is not going to be clean. Is not going to be clean forever anymore. Ghost though do need to walk on back home because here we go. SERRAL, they're going to try and push these locations, but again, there's planetary fortresses literally everywhere. How are you going to break it? We're going to have to find out. The big Widowmine connections, and he's not even going to try. BYUN eking out just the narrowest of victories right there to take the series, and he will move on to the semifinals from here. First of all, thank you guys so much for tuning in to this Alpha X Pro replay cast. If there's any games that you want to see, leave a comment in the down below the video. And make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more epic replay casts. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you at the next big event.